And in the wood yard, we've got a delivery, and we're talking oak, dry time. How long does it take? Here we go. So I've got an order for a half of a full cord today. It's a new customer, and he called me yesterday and says, hey, can you deliver it today? And I got a hold of him this morning because he called me last night. He said, yep, I'm on my way. I'll be there in an hour and a half. He said, awesome. So excited. I'm excited. You should be excited too. The reason I'm bringing this up about the dry time for oak is I've had 3 guys just in the last week ask me, they're new to the channel, and said, how long does it take oak to dry? And it's kind of a long answer because it depends. First off, are you cutting live, green, living, leafy trees? Are they wet, green, alive? If you're cutting live oak trees, it's going to take longer for it to dry, number one. Number two, how big or how small are your splits? That makes a difference. Number three, where and how are you drying it? So there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to drying wood, and oak is the one that everybody has issues with because it takes too long to dry oak. It's my most favorite and least favorite wood. Most favorite because I sell a crap ton of it. There's a lot of guys that want it. There's a lot of people that love oak because they think that's the only kind of wood there is. So I sell a lot of it. But I also run out of it pretty fast because I sell so much of it. Also, it takes long to produce it, long time, because from the time you cut the tree to the time you can burn it usually is a year or two for most people. Now, the wood that's off behind me here and off to the side over here, you can see a bunch of very barkless oak, stuff that has been cut from dead standing trees. And the reason I get this is because south and west of here is an area that's very sandy soil where a lot of red oak and black oak grows. And the guys that I buy from cut a lot of timber, specifically red pine, for delivery to the paper mills around here. The logger I buy most of my wood from is John Corner. He's got 20-some guys that work for him. They've got 5 or 6 crews, and they deliver 30 to 35 truckloads of wood a day to paper mills. They sell a lot of wood. He's got dozens of tree farms, dozens. And in their area, there's a lot of red pine that grows in the plantations, but there's also a lot of red oak. It's a lot of white pine, red pine, and black oak and red oak savannas. So that's pretty much what grows in those areas. So they get a lot of this. Now there's oak wilt that is killing a lot of the red oaks and the black oaks off. It's a disease that's a fungus that's transported by little bugs, and it kills the trees. It usually, once they get it, usually takes 2 years or so and the tree's dead. Then it takes another 3, 4, 5 years. All the bark comes off and it looks like this. The good thing is that it doesn't rot unless it's connected to the ground. So the roots will rot away and eventually the tree will tip over. But they harvest a lot of it when it's like this. And probably 90–95% of it is awesome wood. Sometimes you get a little bit of rot, you get some of that flaky stuff. If you look at that light colored one over there, it's kind of like a spongy, and it's just a little bit on the outside. You'll get a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch, it'll rot a little bit. Sometimes the centers can rot. But in general, it's excellent firewood. Now, because I'm buying a lot of this stuff, and because it's been dead standing for years and there's no bark on it, a lot of it is dry when I get it. A good 50% of it is dry. Sometimes I'll get smaller stuff like this and it'll be like 80% of it is dry. I split it and it's dry. It's 15–16%. There's no moisture at all in it. It's as dry as it's going to be. And some of the bigger stuff, the stuff that's, 14 to maybe 16 inches up to 20, 22, whatever size, the bigger stuff, the center of it will be wet. So it will dry from the outside in, and then you'll have 50% of it will be dry. But as soon as I split it open and get it into the bins where it can get hit by the wind and the sun and the weather and all that good stuff, it dries very fast. So to back all this up, if you're cutting green wood and your splits are fairly big, if you're cutting boiler size stuff, say you've got a round that's 12, 14, 16 inches, which is a lot of them are, and you split it just in half, it could take a year, year and a half, 2 years to dry, depending on your drying conditions, depending on where you store it. So like I said, there's a lot of variables that goes into drying wood, and oak is one of them that takes the longest. So say for instance, you're cutting the live trees, the bark is on it, which is basically like a skin. So that skin is on it, holding all that moisture in. And as soon as you get it cut to your rounds, then you get it split down into quarters, eighths, sixteenths, however size you're splitting it, it will dry faster if you split it down smaller. It's a fact. You create more surface area for it to dry from. Now, some people will say the ends of the log is how it dries from the ends. Well, yeah, if the bark is on a tree and you cut it, that end is going to dry first because it's exposed to the elements, especially the wind. Airflow is huge. So it will dry as soon as you get it opened up, and then you split it down. The drying process will be accelerated tremendously. So that's the first step. The next step is putting it in a place where it's going to get maximum exposure to wind and sun, maximum, whatever that means. Don't put it in the woods. Don't put it underneath a bunch of evergreens, say cedar trees, white pines, red pines. Don't have it in the shade. Get it out in the open. We're lucky here on the farm is that in the wood yard, it's out in the open all the time. There's no shade out in my wood yard area. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know the sun is always on it if the sun is out. The wind is always on it because the wind is always on. You're getting the airflow constantly. Plus, I put it on pallets, so it's off the ground, and then I put pellets on the sides so that I can heap it up. So the wind is hitting it all the time. And I also store my wood loose, not stacked, because I've said this a billion times, I'll say it again, if you stack your wood, you're gonna slow down your drying process. If you put it directly from being cut and split into a shed that you've got a roof on it and then sides on it, it's gonna take a lot longer to dry. In the open, in the elements, it'll dry faster. And a lot of people say, oh, but the rain will make it not dry as fast. The little bit of rain you're gonna get, unless you live like in the Pacific Northwest, you know, where they get 300 days of rain, yeah, then probably you want to cover the top. But you still want the sides open so that it can flow. You still want the bottom to be able to breathe. You want it off the ground because it will wick moisture up. So your sizes, your splits matter. Where you store it matters. How dry it is when you cut it. You know, if it's got bark on it or not. There's a lot of variables that go into it. So it's not black and white where I can just say, oh yeah, once you cut it and split it, it's gonna take a year to dry. Now in general, oak will dry about 1 inch a year, which means if you got a round that's 8 inches and you cut it into a round but don't split it and it's got bark on it, about 1 inch a year all the way around the outside and from the ends it'll dry. If you split it open, you're decreasing the amount of mass that has to dry and you increase the amount of surface area that it can dry from. And once you expose that wood into the middle, it will dry faster. So this piece right here is obviously going to dry from the ends because the end is exposed. It's also going to dry from here, it's been split. But the outside, because this is just a half of a round, is not going to dry as fast as one that's like a quarter or a sixth or an eighth of a round because you've got more surface that's been exposed, so this will dry faster. Also, this is a bigger piece, smaller piece. Smaller stuff dries faster. So that's one of those things you got to take into account. So when you split your wood down, split it down to a size that will dry faster if that's what you want. Now, if you're doing boiler wood and you want big, huge, massive pieces, which I do sell some of that, I've got people that want, you know, 16, 18-inch rounds and they want them cut in half, and that's it. They don't want them any smaller. They want pieces that are 18 to 20, 22 inches, and they want them to be big, thick, and heavy. They want 30-pounders because they want a longer burn time, and that's fine. However, if you take a round that is 18 inches around and you split it into, say, 12 pieces, or if you take the exact same size round and just split it in half, do you know how much heat you're going to get out of the 2 halves versus the, say, 16 pieces or 12, whatever it is you split it down to? You're going to get the exact same amount of heat out of it. You know why? It's the same volume of wood. And some people say, yeah, but it burns faster. Well, it's because you've got more space between the pieces, so you can get more oxygen, and it's going to burn faster, but you're still going to get the same amount of heat from it. So what a lot of people like to do in a boiler, a big firebox, is to put in a few big pieces and then come back 12 hours, 24 hours later and then put a couple more big pieces in. Or you can take a whole bunch of smaller ones and pack it really full, and it'll burn slower also. You can also damper it down so you get less airflow into the burn because it takes oxygen for that fire to burn. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on the wood. Now I've got a delivery, so we're going to chuck some wood in right now. There it is. The wood is in the trailer, ready to go down the road. Some of you might be asking, how do I know how much wood is in there? I don't, but I know it's more than a half of a full cord just because of the volume. This trailer, my truck, my other trailer, and the other trailer, they're like measuring cups. Once you fill them a whole bunch of times, you know how much you got in there. So I just know that it's more than a half of a full cord. If I put as much wood as I can get in this with a little heap to it, it's 2/3 of a cord. And if I fill it to just the bottom, the top of the metal on the side, it's a face cord or 1/3 of a cord. It's just how it is. So if you don't know if your wood is dry or not, get yourself one of these. It's a moisture meter. You can get them for like 20 bucks on Amazon. A lot of different stores will have them, box stores will have them. You can get them in the lumber section. A lot of times they'll have them there for testing lumber. It's very simple. They're about 20 bucks. They use a 9-volt battery. What it is there's 2 prongs. You stick it into the wood and it tests the resistance between the 2 prongs. The more moisture there is, the less resistance there is. The more electricity flows back and forth, and the higher your reading will be. It's pretty simple, really. So this piece I just split it in half. I don't know, probably, I think this wood was split maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. So it's pretty dry. So here it is. Any of you guys can see that? 14%. And if I go to the end, it says 13%. If I go to the other end, it says 14.5%. And if I go to the outside, it says 13%. It's dry wood. That's as dry as it's going to get, which means in my area, once wood gets to about 13, 14, 15%, it reaches what's called equilibrium with the atmosphere. So some days, if it's real rainy and wet and humid and you still split it open and test it, it might go up to 16, 17%. You might gain a couple percent. So cheap, easy way to know if your wood is dry. Now, the other way to do it, which is cheaper yet, cut your wood 2 years in advance. Let it sit for 2 years. It'll be dry, which is what a lot of people do. Sometimes they'll go 3 years, 4 years, 5 years in advance. My dad at one time had 7-year supply of wood, and he just always took the oldest stuff to burn that year, and then the oldest stuff the next year, and then just kept cutting more. So that's the easy way to do it. Some people say, oh, you can hit them together by the sound. You know, I've had some wet wood that you hit together and it sounds kind of high pitched, like it might be dry. If you do it all the time, you might be able to tell. Some people say split it in half, and then I do this quite often. I'll split it in half and put my lips up to it, because your lips are a very good indicator of moisture. And if you feel moisture on the wood, yeah, you're kissing the wood. You can tell if it's dry or not. If it feels dry when you put your lips up against it, it's dry. But you got to split it open, check the inside. Another way to do it, some people say, make a fire. Put your wood on the fire. If you see it hissing and sizzling out the ends, that means there's moisture inside. So that's another way. But the easiest way to do it, get one of these. Just get a moisture meter. They're cheap. You can get them just about anywhere. Easiest way to do it. Let's go squeeze this load out and make a big steamy dump. There you go, the delivery for today is done. We made the big steamy dump. He's happy, he got some oak, and we talked a little bit about oak because he thought oak was the best. I said, well, actually, I've got some other wood you might like, because he said, well, what burns the longest? He said, is it oak? I said, well, oak's a good wood, but I said, there's also other kinds. There's locust, there's hickory, there's ironwood. I said, hard maple. I said, every bit as good as oak. Some are even better. He says, really? I thought oak was the best. So there you go. That happens a lot. I get that probably 50% of the time, like, oak's the best. It's good wood, but there's other wood that's very good too. That's all I got for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Don't forget to go watch all the other videos. There's 1,800 on the channel waiting for you. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Good night, Irene.